Hi, everyone. Welcome to ElCo Chats. My name is Julieta. ElCo Chats is a regular podcast where we get to chat with El Camino College students, graduates, staff, faculty, and managers here at El Camino College and talk about all things El Camino. For today's episode, I get to chat with Jason Barquero, Dean of Workforce Programs and Career Pathways. Welcome.
Thanks, Julieta. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. You have a lot to share. So let's get started.
Sure.
So to begin, if you can, just please introduce yourself. Share a little bit about your role as Dean of Workforce Programs and Career Pathways.
Yeah, so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Like you said, Jason Barquero, for those that don't know me, Dean of Workforce Programs and Career Pathways. At least as of the time of recording, I've been here 10 months, so I'm still new-ish, but I think that's going to rub off here pretty soon. I've been in higher education for almost 20 years now, and so started way back. I'm not going to give you all 20 years of my history because we'll take up your whole podcast, but I started very early on working for DeVry University in my almost a year after undergrad, and that was my first stint as a career advisor working for DeVry, and where I really knew at that moment, okay, this is where I want to be and I want to stay in higher ed. And so the vast majority of my time up until now has been spent in career services and career development. I had a stint in alumni relations when I was at Claremont Graduate University some years back as the director of alumni relations, and then most recently at the Cerritos College Foundation, my alma mater. So I'm a community college alum and Cerritos College alum. And I was the director of alumni relations there as well. But coming back to El Camino, when I'm asked, why El Camino, why here, why now? It's a return back to what I really enjoy doing. And that's what I tell people, quite simply, putting students to work, whether it's internships, full-time jobs, whatever it is, really helping that workforce is what I enjoy doing the most and what I've enjoyed throughout my career. And so this opportunity to be here in a position, an opportunity to really have an impact and make an even bigger impact than in other roles before in students' lives and in their careers, that's what brings me here now.
And speaking of that joy, right? What excites you most about working with students in career development space? Is there a personal connection, maybe something that you aspired to do when you were younger?
That's a great question. I always I use the word access when I talk to people about this. And one of the things that drives me, and I talk to the team here and I talk to folks about, is what excites me, to answer your question, is providing access and opening doors for students to all industries, the things that they may have imagined that aren't possible, or areas that they haven't even imagined yet that are possible. So when you ask me about that and going back to my roots, I too, first generation student, son of immigrants. My mother's from Mexico. My father's from Costa Rica. He immigrated here in the 60s. My mother back in the 70s or so. And so, like many of our students, I identify with that as a Latino. Grew up in Southeast Los Angeles, grew up in Southgate, then moved to Downey and been in the Downey area ever since. So I'm an LA kid through and through. And went to Cerritos College, like I mentioned before, and community college there. That was nearby my home. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I was a great student. I was not a great student. But one of the things I always knew growing up, I was a kid. And if you ask my mom, ever since I was 9 or 10 years old, she thought I was going to be the next Vin Scully. And that's, I think, like any Angelino who's a Dodger fan or a Laker fan, it was either Chick Hearn or Vin Scully is what you grew up listening to. And being a fan of both, when I was very young, I really enjoyed that kind of stuff. And so I teased my friends that I would sit behind the Nintendo or a Sega Genesis playing sports games and pretending to call the games. That's what I really enjoyed doing, right? So she probably would have told you that's what she thought I was going to do. And I never had the opportunity, my parents didn't have connections or anything like that. It was just me watching television. And one of the biggest joys for me was starting community college and getting involved in this, getting behind a mic, and started my very first radio show in community college. And I was part of the radio program for 2.5 years. And so I was able to host my own show. And this is how old I am. Get this, get ready for this. I remember I started, and I'll date myself here. I started community college in 1998. And when I took my first course there, they were rebuilding the radio station there. So there wasn't a station there. When we launched in 1999, my class, not a cohort, but our class was the first to launch internet radio.
Wow. Yeah.
Now we're dating ourselves. 26 years ago. And that was a time, I know you got your producers are nodding their heads, yes, right? Because that was a time around the Y2K where the internet, we were just going on, I think the radio station there at the time, you could hear it about 2-3 miles out out into the parking lot. And now it was so exciting that we're going to go online, but we didn't know how this was going to be regulated. So I'm walking in with my CDs and playing CDs in the early 2000s and hosting my own radio show. So I was at a time where I knew I wasn't great at a lot of things. I wasn't a geek or anything like that, but I knew I had a passion for communications. I knew I had a passion for public speaking and doing this kind of stuff. And I got to exercise it there. And that's where I found my solace in community college, doing that, built that confidence, right? To then start doing well. And then eventually transferring to Cal State Fullerton and earning my bachelor's degree in communications, right? And so, but I decided somewhere, as much as I loved radio and had my own show, and I have who became a mentor of mine, a professor who's now long retired, really built that confidence for me to look at other things as well. And so my degree was in speech communication. Being a son of a very traditional father, retired, the whole thing, got the gold watch, so to speak, and very traditional workhorse. He said, well, that's all great and that's nice, but what are you going to do for money, right? That might be really hard. It might be unrealistic. I think sometimes as first generation students, our family only knows what they know, right? So I decided to go the traditional route and said, okay, I should, use my communication degree for something in business or something else. And so I was in retail when I was in college at Sears, which is also now debunked. And that was my first job out of undergrad. I was part of their management training program for Sears, and I did management there. And that was my first stint in management at about 24 years old, doing rotations, getting yelled at by angry holiday shoppers. And at that point, I said, okay, retail's not for me. So what else could I do? I remember really enjoying, and I'm not making this up, being at Cal State Fullerton and having them take us to the Career Center. And I thought that'd be kind of cool, helping students and all this kind of stuff. So okay, so I just put that in the back of my head. Then fast forward later on to this time in retail management, and I'm like, hey, what can I do with this comm degree? I started applying at different colleges and universities, and hence got brought on by DeVry at the time as a very entry-level career advisor. But that's where I learned how to do everything, right? From putting on events and career fairs and advising students and working with employers. And now here I am, about 20 years or so later, and now still doing that, right, at a different space. But I know, because I know you want me to share this, but I think bringing it all full circle, because someone might be saying, okay, well, what happened to the radio thing and all that? How is that connected? So, and I think and I'm sharing this with students, even when I'm sharing my own story, more so to motivate them. And, now we live in a time where people do various things, and it's okay to have a couple different things. You have folks, even in this college, they might be professors or administrators, but they have a side gig or they do something interesting, right? And so for me, I never lost that itch. I always stayed connected, again, that network with college at community college. So I was doing local radio in San Bernardino County on the weekends just for fun, no pay, would talk about all kinds of stuff from politics to, this is all in my 20s, early 30s, got yelled at by listeners. I loved it though, all kinds of stuff. And then I did some blogging when that was getting big, and did something for a Lakers website and all that stuff. So in 2014, I auditioned. A friend of mine sent me this thing. He said, hey, I see that the South Bay Lakers, which for those that aren't familiar, they're the G League, the minor league team for the Los Angeles Lakers, right? And they play out of El Segundo. And they put out an ad where they needed a public address announcer, right? So the PA announcer, for those that don't know, are the ones that announce the players and kind of what they call the voice of God in theater, right? You hear them in the arenas or at the stadiums. And a buddy of mine said, I think you'd be good for this. You should go and check it out. So I said, all right. So I show up. There's about 80, 90 people in line, very, like a cattle call of folks just going in there with scripts and all that. So to fast forward, I auditioned once. They called me back for a second audition. And before you know it, they said, hey, we'd like to offer you the job. And so till this day, we'll be entering my 11th season with them later this year as the public address announcer for the South Bay Lakers. Part of the Laker family. I have a 2020 championship ring with my name on it. I'm a part of the organization like anybody else. And it's so much pride when you see that last name Barquero as a first gen student. I get emotional thinking about that and sharing that all my family in Mexico, all my family in Costa Rica, my parents. It's a very cool feeling, right? And so I'm very blessed and very fortunate that by day I get to help students and do this wonderful work. And then during the season, I get to go out there and still scratch that itch of radio and getting behind a mic and having fun with fans and doing that kind of thing. So that's that kind of in a nutshell, of how full circle, it comes together, but I share that with students to make sure that they never lose that dream that they have. And I also share with people, sometimes things don't work out exactly the way you planned them to be, right? I didn't turn out to be Vince Scully. I'm the dean here at El Camino. Maybe not as exciting to some folks, but at the end of the day, it's everything I thought that I could do when I was in undergrad. Again,
Absolutely.
right? And then I get to do that on a day-to-day or year-to-year basis. So
Providing that for others. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Full circle moment. And in that time, and thank you for sharing in detail what your whole journey was like. So in that lens, how has career services landscape evolved throughout the recent years, especially with the changing market trends? Now we have a curveball to throw in, the impact of AI. What's that looking like?
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. It's changed how we do things quite a bit. When we talk about artificial intelligence in career services or just in higher ed in general, I know it makes some folks nervous, right? Especially on the academic side. My wife's a school teacher, so it makes her nervous as well anytime she assigns a paper to her students. I think in our area, in my world, I don't have to worry so much about plagiarism as much as I have to make sure that we are putting these kinds of resources in front of our students. And this is what I tell anyone in career development that's listening, any student or faculty or administrator. We all know that we're all strapped for funds. We all know that we'll never have at any college, university, and I've worked at quite a few of them, and we always run up to where we'll never have enough staff and enough time in a day, in a month, in a year to really scale services to the 10, the 20, the 30, or 50,000 student population that you may be serving at your college, right? So my message to my peers is this is an opportunity to scale our services at a mass scale, right? Where most of our departments, there are just a few of us. How can we make sure that we offer more appointments? We offer more resources for our students. AI is going to help us do that. And I really do believe that. So I'd be lying to say if we're utilizing it right now officially at the department, although I'm sure students utilize it on their own. I think one of the things, and it might be one of the questions about, where do I see us going and where do we see the practice going? I think we're going to have to start coaching our students how to utilize AI in order to work on their resumes, work on their cover letters, work on all those things traditionally that they would do in person in the office. That's not to say we don't have a place for the student. And I just had this conversation the other day with someone. How many appointments will it take for a student to perfect their resume? We never do it in one. Mm-hmm. Never in my career, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years, we don't finish it in one and not even two, unless they're really, really good. So with AI, why not offer tools for students that they can start building that resume ahead of time? So when they visit our offices, our career offices, we've already advanced that appointment. And maybe it's not 3 visits, now it's 2 visits. Now, why does that matter? It's not because I don't want to see the student 3 times, right, but because now I've opened up more hours and opportunities and more appointments to see more students. Mm-hmm. It's allowed me to scale my services, open up more appointments. So and being able to really provide services a little bit faster and a little bit quicker. So I think that's the way we need to see it. It's not that we'll need less people. We'll always need more counselors and more advisors, is that we'll be able to offer more than what we do now with the staffing levels that all colleges and universities face, right? That's one. The other thing too is the online learner. So what we've learned from COVID is, and in community colleges we see it, all of our students are not going to come back to brick and mortar at the level that we were prior to COVID. It's probably won't get there, right? Mm-hmm. And so that landscape has changed. Those folks sitting at home, they may not want to come see Jason's face in person, but they are going to look to El Camino to provide those resources and on how they can build their resume, right, how they can do a digital mock interview with an AI service or something online, right? So I think it would behoove us as a college, and not just El Camino, any college, just the industry in general, not to lean into it, start coaching our students, start showing them how to use these tools. Because if I'm on a Friday night and I need to turn this in by Sunday night, career services isn't open at any college, mm-hmm, right? So I need to get this done. So I think we need to lean into it more, feel more comfortable with it ourselves, train our student population to use it. And I think it's really going to help us scale our services at a time where we're strapped for funds.
Thank you. And so AI sort of as a resource, but thinking about the career services here at El Camino College, what are some key resources or programs that you offer to support students in finding some career clarity and real world experience?
Right. So there's quite a bit. And so through our career services and our career counselors, first and foremost, I always want to give a shout out and a really a round of applause to our career counselors. Because when I talk to folks who don't understand what we do, we throw the word placement around quite a bit in career services. Those of us that work in career services don't like the word placement because colleges and universities just can't guarantee you placement. But what we do, even though we do place students, is I think the best work that we do is we help our students make informed decisions about their career. And that starts with our counselors. And so in terms of exploration, we offer a myriad of workshops. We offer a career and life planning course at the college, currently in human development, where a lot of students learn about exploration there. But even in the one-on-one sessions with our counselors, learning where to start, right? Going back to when I was in community college, I'd be lying if I said I went to go see a counselor for that. I wish I would have, because I think it would have aligned some of the things better instead of Jason just figuring it out on his own, right? On the car ride home. So I think that's the number one service we offer. And I always ask our students and encourage them to see a counselor, to start that exploration, put everything on the table and just start road mapping, right? And so we do that there. That's number one. The workshops, we do that like any other college. But I think one of the really unique things that I'm really proud of, and I'm proud of my team for getting off the ground, is our Intern South Bay program this summer. And so one of the things I really wanted to do coming in here to El Camino is for us to have our own flagship paid summer internship program. One of the reasons why I really love working at a community college, which is still relatively new to me, I'm about 5 years in now, but most of my prior experience was at private 4 years. One is the impact with our student population, but is that I really want to emulate the career services we offer at a community college to that of what someone gets at a 4-year, right? And anyone whether it's a Cal State, whether it's a USC or an LMU, they have wonderful programs, and I have friends that work there and people that have gone there. But why can't we do that here? Right? Why can't we partner with employers and tell them, take a look at our community college students who can do amazing work? So the Intern South Bay program does that. So it's a paid partnership with the South Bay Workforce Investment Board out here in the South Bay area. And so it is an 8-week internship program where students do 20 hours a week over 8 weeks, completely paid and completely funded, subsidized through our partnership with the South Bay WIB. And our team here in Career Services has recruited employers. I believe we have about 10 or 11 employers for this first inaugural year, from the city of Torrance to other aerospace organizations. We have PV Magazine. So the neat thing about this program is it wasn't just fixed on one discipline, right? So we have students from graphic design to manufacturing to students who are interested in journalism, and so they'll be at PV Magazine or doing what we're doing here and those things and things like that nature. So our hope is to grow that every summer as well. I'm a big proponent in students getting paid, so I don't want to send them out somewhere and they're not getting money. They're getting a full, I think it's about $17.70 an hour or so from the time that they're there, but they're also getting professional development from our career services office. They're also going to get some pretty neat experiences over the summer as well. We're getting them t-shirts, they're getting swag. So it's not like we're just sending them off to the employer unprepared, right? And so we're really excited that 15 students are going to go through that internship this summer. We're hoping to grow that and possibly double that if we can get some more funding for next year. So that's exciting to me. So that's one of the services we do offer. That's only 15 students. So anybody else asking, well, what else is there for the rest of us? Our office is there to help students learn how to fish, as I like to call it, right? We can only place so many students, right? There's 20,000 students or so here at El Camino. For everyone else and for everyone, we teach you how to search for a job, how to write a resume. And there's no limit to them coming to our office to do that, right? To coach them through the process, helping our students really through that anxiety of an interview. That's very nerve-wracking for a lot of folks. And so we forget that coaching alone is tremendously helpful. And there's no limit to a number of times that our students can come see us for that kind of coaching, whether they're applying at McDonald's or at Starbucks across the street, or whether they have something with Northrop Grumman. It doesn't matter. We'll help anybody find any type of job or internship at any time.
Thank you. And you touched on Intern South Bay, which I had a number of questions, but I really think you answered
Sorry,
them
I jumped
all.
ahead.
No, that's good. But I think where I can ask a little bit more about Intern South Bay is the role that faculty, staff, or employers can have. And how can we get involved or help support the growth of this program? As you said, it's 15 students now, but what is that going to look like next summer? So how can we make that happen?
That's a great question. So the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that, and it's already happening, we have faculty. So this program would not be as robust with employers if it wasn't for our faculty, to be honest with you. And so we have partnered with some of our faculty members to help us connect us to industry. So oftentimes what we forget is our own faculty are either working still in industry, as you know, many of our adjuncts who are working in industry and teaching here part-time, or folks that are even our full-time faculty that have tremendous connections to alumni who are now successful in the area, or just industry in general from their past experiences. So some of the employers that we have in our roster for Intern South Bay came through connections from our faculty who said, hey, I think you should talk to them. I think they'd be great for the program. So that would be my biggest ask for anybody out there, any staff member, any other alum that may be listening as well. If you have a business or you're in a big company or even a mid-sized company, you want to take an intern, you don't have to wait till next summer. We can have that conversation. And so we've received a lot of help from our community, our El Camino community, in connecting us to industry. Our foundation has also done a wonderful job. I have to give them a shout out. This program is also possible due to a mini grant that was awarded to us. So we'll be using that mini grant from the foundation to go towards the Intern South Bay program for some of the fun stuff we'll be doing for students as well. They've been a big help in connecting us to industry. So I think that's the biggest thing that I would ask the ECC community. Help us connect to industry. We'll do the legwork. Just point us the right way and we can do that. In terms of funding, well, if you got money, send us, write us a check, right? But I say that jokingly, but it's true. There's a lot of large organizations. The South Bay, where we're very fortunate compared to other colleges I've worked at, is in geography. There's some tremendous businesses in the South Bay area. And so if they're listening, I would ask them to connect with me, connect with us. If you can't give us the gift of time, I'll take your gift of treasure. And you can and you can send us a check or talk to the foundation, and we'll find a way to make sure that gets to the student and make sure that we grow these kinds of programs.
Thank you for that. So we all have a role.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And let's make that work. And speaking of the future and work, what's your vision for the area that you oversee over the next, it says 1 to 3 years, but I think you already have that plan. So let's talk about 5 years from now. What does that look like for you?
I think what it looks like for me, and it looks like for most of us at the community colleges, especially with the new vision coming from the chancellor's office, there is more emphasis than ever in having a career roadmap. And so it looks like there is going to be a very strong investment at the state level in terms of workforce development. And so hopefully what that means for those of us that do the work that I do, that there will be more funding, creating more opportunities and more resources. I think I speak for all of my colleagues that do the kind of work that I do in career development. We never have enough of resources and have enough people to do the great work. So I think scaling that out is going to be key. I think the use of technology is going to continue to be big, like I mentioned earlier. El Camino, what's in the vision, I think, for El Camino, I think year one, getting our own internship program off the ground was great. And then, so we're really excited about that. I think for year two, I know for year two and beyond, what we need to focus on are growing our apprenticeship programs, which is quite frankly one of the reasons that my role was created and brought onto this college, was to begin to grow that. So one thing I can say, and I would be remiss not to say, what excited me about this role in coming to El Camino is from the president to our vice president, from cabinet, there was a serious look at we need to take career development, workforce development, apprenticeships, all that together and start investing in it, right? My role is an investment into that. It didn't exist, so we'd be lying if it wasn't. So that's one way the school has already invested in it. My job is to make sure they get that return of their investment. And so we need to grow apprenticeship opportunities here at the college. So I think that'll be coming here pretty soon. We're applying for various grants, so hopefully those go through. It'll allow us that flexibility to do some pretty neat things. And there's more to come, I'm sure, that I probably can't talk about quite yet, but that's where we're going. I think for El Camino, it's an exciting time where we're really making some noise here in career services at the college, and I'm excited about that.
I'm excited too. And thinking about the students, and I know this is going to be tough to answer, but what is one thing that you hope every student takes away from their interactions with career services, whatever that looks like?
I always say they need to come out happier walking out than they come in to the Career Center. And that's one thing I always mention to my staff. I want our students walking out a little bit better, feeling a little bit more prepared than they did when they walked out. Doesn't mean they're all going to walk out with a job. They're not all. If they walk out a little bit more prepared, where they came in with a blank sheet of paper and I've never written a resume, which happens, right? From 18 to 80. And our student population ranges. And they walk out with something like that on their hand that they can now go home, because we won't write it for you, right? It's like homework. You got to do it on your own. But if they walk out with something and some kind of a roadmap of what's next, that's a success for me. And I remind our staff of that, because I think we're really hard on ourselves in education. We want to help every student right at that moment.
Right away,
right. So I remind them it's a long process. If they walk away step one, that's great. Hey, I have a roadmap. Jason, just thank you. Now I know where to start. So that's really what it is. How can we provide them access to things, introductions to people? Again, I'm big on that. So it's not just about the job. It's about, hey, I didn't have a connection with the Lakers, but I met with Jason. I met with his team. I met with someone that does, and they're going to introduce me to that person. That's a win. If we can help students make more informed decisions about their career, and that takes a while, I know that, then we're on the right track. And that's what makes me happy. And I hope our students are happy when they walk out.
Thank you. And finally, from the career perspective and anyone thinking about applying to El Camino College, what advice do you have for them?
Ooh, what advice? Repeat that question once again.
Sure. From the career perspective,
okay.
And anyone thinking about applying to El Camino College, what advice do you have for them?
Don't be afraid, and don't think you have to know the answer to everything. And what I mean by that is, you might want to apply and you think, well, I got to know what I want to do in my life. I need to realize what career and what job and all those things. And so when I think of all the students I've ever met with, I think now the advice I would give my own kids, because I'm as a father, and before you know it, they'll be in college, would be, don't be afraid. Go to everything. Go to every workshop. If you're still thinking about applying for college, go visit a few colleges. Go to their seminars. Go to their webinars. It doesn't cost you anything. Ask questions. And just through that process, you're going to discover, and then just keep asking more questions and meeting people. I, believe it or not, I was a shy kid around that high school senior time where I was afraid I was going to sound dumb. And so I didn't ask questions. And so ask questions, get involved. That'll help you discover more. One of the best pieces of advice that I actually read one time, not that someone gave it to me, was say yes to everything. Okay, maybe not everything, but you know where I'm going with that, right? Is sometimes you think, I don't know if I want to go to this event. I'm really tired. And this is a professional. There are things like, I don't know if I want to go to this conference. But you get up and go, and 9 out of 10 times you come back going, I'm glad I went.
Absolutely.
I met someone, right? And so that's what I tell students. That's what I tell prospective students. Just do it. You won't regret it. Lean in, meet people, ask questions, and you don't have to know and figure out the rest of your career to enroll at a college. And I think that's what we do best at a community college. It's a safe space for you to explore who you are, what you want to do with your life. I didn't have it figured out. I didn't choose my major my first semester or second. And I think that's the best advice I would give my own kids, and I would give anybody exploring college.
Thank you. Thank you for all that, for, us getting a chance to learn about career and career services, but also using your personal story and how that impacted your journey. And it sounds like continues to impact your journey. So thank you so much for everything that you shared and for joining us today. I'm excited to get students to the Career Center and Career Services and come out a better person because of their interactions.
Thank you, Julieta. This was fun. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.